Hello, darlings, and welcome to my podcast, Treading the Boards to Business, where we talk all things from sparkle and spotlight to the boardroom and beyond. My name is Shelley Otway-Wood, former actress, singer and dancer, and now CEO of Stepping Out Stars of Tomorrow Theatre School, The Costume Cupboard, and Dance and Performing Arts Business Coach. I am going to share with you some fantastic showbiz stories with my friends and colleagues about their careers in performing arts and beyond. So let's open these curtains and step into the spotlight. Don't worry, we all are. I asked Ayana for any kind of technical knowledge. I am useless. How are you? Thank you so much for coming on, Zoe.
That's all right. How are you? How's
Yeah,
everything going?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah. So Zoe and I met through a mutual friend, actually, didn't we?
We
Um,
did, yeah.
Through our friend Becky. So Zoe was a dancer and then went into having her own theatre school and now has her own Pilates business. So yeah, you've had a few careers, haven't you? A little bit like me.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about your early days as a dancer and how you got into the industry to start with.
Well, I like most girls, we sort of got sent off to ballet or whatever. But I actually started with disco, Latin American and ballroom because in
Okay.
Bath that was a big thing. And my sister had done that. And so then I went along and then I got put into ballet as well. And I think I used to like school. I was very bright, but I didn't socially fit in very well. And I used to love dancing because I just found it was a really nice place to be, really enjoyed it. And in my teens, I started that segued into amateur dramatics. And then I remember thinking, oh, if I have children, I'm going to teach them to dance every day and I'm going to teach them singing every day so they're really good and they can do it professionally. I think I saw Singing in the Rain when I was 8 and that kind of kicked it all off. And I thought, that's what I want to do. And of course, they all thought I was mad at school. And I remember the careers person meeting them. And I think I went to discuss going into banking or something else. But anyway, ultimately ended up auditioning and getting offered Arts Ed and Lanes. And
Okay, you
because it was
went.
so expensive to travel to back and forward from Bath, my dad was like, "You've got two places, just pick one and go." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
So
Lanes,
you
yeah,
went to
in
Lanes,
Exeter.
okay. And how was your time there?
It was good. I did enjoy it. It was very different days. Back then, we were very much, you had to weigh a certain amount, you had to look a certain way. I
Yeah.
was told I wouldn't get into lanes because I wasn't tall enough and slim enough and leggy enough. And
Lanes had a
then
real look during that kind of time, didn't they? They really did.
absolutely. I mean, they used to do the finale, and it used to be all her girls would come on first. They were all, 5'8", long legs, long hair, and I was, yeah, not that. And but they were just starting in musical theatre, so we were the second year of their musical theatre course.
Okay.
So I did that, and it was not a good course because it was only the second year of it. It was basically a dancers' college with this kind of musical theatre classes tacked on.
Okay.
And I was very much wanting to do the drama and the singing and the combined sort of skills. So that was, a little bit disappointing. And I didn't feel I was strong enough to compete like with the dancers. And so again, it kind of left you with that kind of little bit of weren't sure of your place.
Yeah. Because in our generation, it was very much you danced, you sang, you acted. There wasn't really room for you to, I mean, there was room for you to do a bit of everything, of course there was, but you very much went in for auditions as a singer audition or a dancer's audition. Like I would always be over the moon because I was a strong dancer, and ended up doing more dance shows than anything else, ironically. But I always used to love it when I could sing first because I knew I'd get through that first round. But if it was a dance call, I'd be like, I'm up against all the dancers. So it's changed a lot, like all the kids being able to do all these flips and tricks and acro and everything. It just wasn't like that then, was it?
Well, I remember the auditions used to be, it used to either say dancer, singer, or singer dancer. So if
Yeah.
you went to a dancer singer and sang first, you were okay. And if you went to a was it singer dancer and dance first, whichever way around it was, then you were okay. But then when you got to the second bit, you were screwed because that was always the people that were really good at that. You just hope they were knocked out in the first round. But yeah, it was
Yeah, I've spoken a
interesting
couple of
days.
times on my podcasts. I think I've done about 10 or 11 now, about the whole weighing thing
Mm.
and you being weighed at drama school and things like that. I mean, that was very much a thing of our day, wasn't it? Our generation.
Yeah, I mean, I was really lucky because my sort of had anorexia before I went to college, and I'd confided in a teacher who had told Betty Lane. So they never ever mentioned my weight, and I don't think there was any need to anyway. I think I was pretty slim, but you obviously would hear it secondhand. Well, not secondhand. You'd see them talking to other girls and weighing other girls and telling them that. I actually had a problem on my first job. We went on a cruise, and they said we're going to weigh you every week. And I was like, you can't do that. I said, well, I didn't know what it was then. I said, I must have said anorexia or something. I said, this is going to be really difficult for me. And they were like, no, well, that's how it is. Because the cast before us, all the girls
Wow.
had put on 1.5 stone. So they were like, well, we can't have that again.
Yeah,
So they decided to weigh us. But then that kind of kicked off another cycle of disordered eating, which was just, oh,
for
yeah,
you.
yeah, absolutely. So that was, yeah, that was awful.
Is that something
So
you've
that was
always battled
good.
with, Zoe? I wasn't aware of that.
So I had from about age 14. So I think once you hit puberty, I was a really, really skinny child, really skinny. Always looked ill, always looked like I was about to pass out. I was just really tiny. And then when I hit puberty, I just sort of got very curvy very quickly and but would put on weight because I was eating well. And I wasn't big, but I was a lot bigger than I had been. And I didn't like that. And I think they showed us something at school about somebody going anorexic. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. I'll just stop eating and I'll
Oh
lose all the weight.
gosh.
So I did that. And suddenly, you get all this good attention from people. Oh, you look great. You look so good. You've lost so much weight. And so that kind of kept me going for a bit. And then I actually had glandular fever um, just before kind of GCSE time. And so I was at home, my mother was feeding me. And I think it just kind of, I had to get well from that. I had to rebuild myself. I had almost a year off dance and I wanted to go to Lanes and do all my auditions and everything. So I was like, well, I need to be strong. I need to be fit.
Yeah.
So when I got Lanes, and because you're dancing every day, I didn't affect me at all. So in fact, with the first year at college in my digs, the woman that was looking after us just said, oh, none of you have got parts in the show because you're all too fat. And so she used to try to put us on a diet and stuff. But yeah, as I say, I was fine for those 3 years. And then I think the cruise kind of kicked it off again. And then when I came back from that, I think being very untethered. So I'd been off on a cruise, come back. All my friends from Lanes had gone back to wherever they lived. My parents had moved to Epsom while I was at college and then moved back to Bath, where I'm originally from. So I'm suddenly homeless,
On your own,
kind
yeah.
of rudderless, on my own, no job. And so yeah, so I think I probably struggled till about 23, 24. And I remember it all settling down as soon as I had the keys to my first home in my hand. And then I was like, oh, I'm okay now.
Okay, right. Did
So I
you
think
dance right up to how old were you when you stopped dancing?
I stopped around 30.
So it's kind of that age, isn't it?
Yeah, I think probably I think when I left Beauty and the Beast, I was probably 28, something like that.
Did
Yeah,
you do that in
27,
town?
28. Yeah. So that was my last job, but I was still auditioning then probably for like another year and a bit, depending on what it was. And I remember the kind of stop of it was in the year 2000, I auditioned for Cats and I was kept right to the end. And I said, look, it's not a problem, but could you tell me if I've not got it? Because I'm getting married. And if I have got it, I just need to cancel the wedding. I mean, it's not a big thing, so it's okay, but just let me know. And they didn't let me know. And I was so annoyed at that point with just how the industry worked. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't live like this anymore. I can't do this. The working bit was brilliant. The in-between bits were awful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm totally with you. And I think as a female, trying to navigate that point where you're like, am I going to have children? Am I going to stop? Am I going to do another career? It's that kind of 28 to 32 kind of age, isn't it? Where all those things are starting to go through your head, aren't
Yeah.
they? Um,
Yeah. I mean,
you
it
know,
wasn't even really a choice. It was more the fact that I'd come up with the idea because Denise Van Outen was big at the time. So I thought, well, I know I'll become a TV presenter because, that's really easy. I'll go into presenting and then they'll have me back in musical theatre. I won't need to be any better, but I'll get lead roles because they'll all know me.
you'll be known.
And I actually got a presenting job straight away, and then I got another presenting job, and then I got another presenting job, and it kind of went like that. And I was like, oh, and they weren't, it was never going to be Denise Van Outen, but because that kept going, the dance side started slipping away. I'd had a back injury, just kept slipping discs over and over, and you can't, once you've had a couple of years out at that age. Looking back, I probably could have got back to that fitness, and I probably could have gone back in, but it seems like such an uphill battle. And
Yeah.
we were the first year of beauty. I was the second or third eldest in the cast. And then, oh no, sorry, first year of beauty, I was one of the youngest in the cast. Second year of beauty, I was one of the eldest. So the first year we were all mid-20s. The second year they were all straight out of college. So you kind of had that thing that you were being replaced.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so it sort of naturally I came out of it, and then you just realize, well, I can't go back now because I'm not good enough.
Oh, I know. And that,
Yeah, it's a
it's
shame.
so sad, isn't it? That
Yeah.
is the case, and I'm sure you probably could go back, Zoe. I'm sure you could.
Oh,
But I know what you mean. And do you have, because I kind of made a decision to stop, and I have no desire to perform now whatsoever. I really don't. Do you
mm.
still, I mean, I'll go and watch a musical and think I could have played that.
Yeah.
I'd have been bloody good in that. But I don't miss it. I don't miss the auditions. I don't miss the in-between jobs. I don't miss the how am I going to be able to pay for my Louboutin shoes?
Mm.
I don't miss any of that stuff
Yeah.
that goes with it.
I mean, I've never really stopped. So even all the way through, I've done presenting all the way. I basically switched to presenting and voiceovers, and that's
Okay.
never, I say never stopped. It's probably being stopped around, in the last few years. It's kind of gradually petering out as, people don't need you for things. But I've never really completely stopped. I was doing, but then it's funny because you have these great big long gaps and you don't realize. So like my last commercial was in 2000, so we're now in what, 2006. So you kind of go, oh, it's been 6 years since I've done a commercial. Oh, and you suddenly
Yeah.
start going, and I haven't actually, I lost my agent. Oh, was that like 3, 4 years ago? And yet I'll still say, oh yeah, I'm an actress, but I haven't got an agent at the moment, but I'm still in the spotlight. I still kind
Okay.
of, so it still goes on. And I do sometimes, if we've gone to musicals and I'll look and I think, oh, I'd love to do that, or I could do that. But then when I think of the reality of it and I go, oh God, 8 shows a week, not, missing Christmas, missing New Year's, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I can't do that
Yeah.
anymore. So
It's funny
the
because those
downside
times
of it.
become so precious, don't they? Like the amount, I mean, I did like 17 pantos, and oh goodness, I mean, there's no way I'd be playing Snow White now. I'm very much an evil queen now. But, when you've been away for all of those Christmases, and obviously there was tours and longer contracts and stuff in between, you start to go, oh, I don't want to be away for Christmas. I got offered a
Mm,
panto last Christmas and I was like, no, actually,
yeah.
thank you for the offer, but I wanted to say I'd rather stick pins in my eyes, but I actually would rather have stuck pins in my eyes and gone and done it. It just does not appeal to me whatsoever. Would you go and do a panto or something now, do you think?
Probably not. I mean, I only ever did 3 pantos. My husband did more than I did. And again, we just kind of got to that point of this is too much faff. We're trying to get to the parents. We're all having to drive to wherever he is because, he's only got one day off. Then it was just, and then you'd always have to be full of flu because all the kids at the panto would
Yeah,
always be
you've
ill.
always got it,
And so about
yeah.
2 weeks in, you're so worn out that you get all the germs. And yeah, no, I mean, so no, I wouldn't as I am, but should, I don't know, something happen and suddenly there was, you got famous on TikTok or something, I don't know, I won't because I'm not on it, but if there was some kind of celebrity thing and somebody's saying to you, okay, here's 50 grand to do 2 weeks of panto, and you literally walk on and go, or whatever it is, then, never say never.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I always say that there is only one job that I would want to go back for, and that is to play Mrs. Wormwood in Matilda. That is the
Yeah.
only job I would really, really love to go and do, and I wouldn't go and do it if it was an amateur production. I just wouldn't want to. But if to do it in town, I would be like, yeah, I'll go and do that.
Go and audition then. Go for it.
Oh, I don't know about that. And it's the reality of it, isn't it? Like you say, childcare, making sure Ayana's okay, being away from Rob every night. Rob works daytimes. There is that, and those people that are listening, there's the real shift of the performer's life and a normal life. I quite like finishing at 5:30 and then going and getting my one glass of wine and having a nice after evening, watching a film, or I quite like that now.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
want to be getting on a train in the hot summer, going into town, and when it's freezing cold, coming back at 1 o'clock in the morning because I've just done a job. Like, no, I don't want to do that now. But you
Exactly. The
obviously,
reality, it's the dream versus the reality, isn't it?
yeah, and it's always that saying, isn't it? Make an actor unhappy, make an actor unhappy, isn't it? Give him a job. And it's so true, because the reality of getting the job is fabulous, but
Yeah.
actually it's never ever what you think it's going to
Then when
be.
you're going to do it, yeah, it's a whole other
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously you came not out of it completely, like you said, but definitely out of the dance musical theatre world for whatever reason. And then, is it right that you then kind of had a stagecoach, didn't you?
Yeah, so I mean, everything just segued into everything else. So when I was still performing, obviously you're looking for your part-time job so that you can carry on auditioning. So I worked at Stagecoach. I started off as an early stages teacher. I worked up in Uxbridge,
Mhm.
and so I used to do that
My
on a
hometown.
Saturday. Oh, there you go. Used to do that on a Saturday, and then we moved out to Croydon. So when I moved to Croydon, I got in touch with the stage coaches in the local area, and I started teaching early stages at Croydon and dance on a Friday night in Coulsdon. And I was on that Friday night for about 10 years. So it was a part-time job for a while, and then I think, my husband's work, he's an actor as well. So we were just then at that point where you want to get a bigger mortgage, or you want to sort of settle down a little bit more. And we're both in the profession. I'm thinking one of us needs to get a proper job here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'd been offered the Uxbridge Stagecoach maybe 3 or 4 years
To buy
before, and I
it.
was like, to buy it, and I was like,
Mhm.
no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I still want to be able to go away. I still want to be able to do, whatever. And then unfortunately, the owners of Coulston's husband got very sick, and so I was stepping in and helping her out, and just cover principaling. And so I thought, actually, I am kind of ready, and I know this school so well. I've been here 10 years. And I said, look, if you do ever think of selling, I'd be interested. And it came up that she decided that because of family, her family circumstance, she would sell. And so then, yeah, I owned that for 10 years. But it was just you just kind of segue into these things. And it was whilst I was doing Stagecoach that I started Pilates, because my back got so bad. And then I trained and started teaching Pilates all whilst I had Stagecoach. So everything had like a little crossover in my life. It always sort of
Yeah.
crosses over and then transitions into the next thing.
And with Stagecoach, how did you find going into an industry that is still very much everything about, but not, I mean, because I was the same when I had my franchise. I didn't know how to put an ad together, or I didn't know how to work a spreadsheet. I didn't know how to budget for, productions. I'd just be like, oh, I want a snow machine, and I want this to look pretty, and I want Alice to come in on this big, amazing zip wire. And, I'd have all these fantastic creative ideas. And then actually the reality of that actually happening is, well, that's actually going to cost like 2 grand to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you find that side of things?
I mean, I found it fine, actually. I mean, I think from being very young, this when I went to the careers thing and wanted me to go into banking, I was always very good at like maths and English and just very academic. So
Right.
I'd said from a very young age, one day I want to own a business, and I knew I wanted to run a business. I'm still not technically minded, still can't Zoom, still can't spreadsheet very well, but you can do all those. When we started stations, I was doing everything on paper, bits of paper, or
Mm.
and there was a system that they taught you, and you learn it over time, don't you? And you're gradually just dragged into the 21st century. Um, but I think what I hadn't prepared for was the responsibility of it. And what I found very difficult over time, and I think then probably hitting perimenopause,
Mm.
was the responsibility of all those children.
Yeah, it is a big
And
responsibility.
yeah, and all the parents and all the expectations and all that side of it. And I think theatre school, I don't know how you do it, but it's the constant, oh, there's a show at the end of that, and then another group have got a show, or these ones are preparing for auditions, or these ones have got exams, and it's you just never stop, you
No, you
never
don't.
stop.
You absolutely
And
don't.
you can't even on holiday, your phone's still on, or you
Mm.
just can't break from it at all. And that was what I found really difficult. I mean, at least when you're in the West End, you've got your 2 week holiday, whatever
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. And no one's bothering you. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I get
exactly.
that. I mean, I think when you were doing that, and this is something that I've certainly learned in very recent years, really, is about delegation. And I think, again, we were of the generation of principals. I mean, I've had my school for 18 years this year. Yes, I'm that old.
Wow.
And the reality of what it was like 18 years ago to now is such a shift.
Mm,
A lot of things for the good, but also some things not for the good. I mean, the red tape that's around a show now is
mm,
just ridiculous. But we were of a generation where we perhaps didn't have all of the business background. There wasn't
mm,
courses to go on, or as a franchisee, I don't really think I got taught anything like that. We had an accountants meeting once for the franchisees as part of our 2 week training, and it was like an afternoon, and they showed you a spreadsheet and how to put budgets in it, and that was it. And I
right.
just left that session thinking, I can't do this because I'm rubbish at maths and I will never ever be able to run it like this. And you
Mm.
just kind of navigate your own way around it, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, Stagecoach were pretty good. There was quite a lot of training we had. And I think because it crept in over the sort of 10 years that I had it, you just, learnt one thing at a time. I think what was interesting was I felt that I'd learnt a lot about running a business. And I felt that, oh, this was a good practice to start a business, because you always had somebody you could pick up the phone to and ask the question. And then when I started my own business, I'm like, oh, I didn't know about that. Or that was done for me before. I didn't do that before. And do I have to do that? And
Yeah.
so actually I thought I knew how to run a business, but I'm still learning things
Oh, I think
all
you
the
learn every
time.
day. I learn
Yeah.
things every day, and I tweak my business every day to make it better and better and better. How did you decide to kind of not kind of get out, I guess? How did
Mm.
you try, did you sell? How did that kind of work?
Yes, yes. So I mean, I've always had a motto in my life that if ever I'm crying consistently the night before I have to go to work, it's time to get out of that
Oh,
particular
wow,
job.
yes.
So I was working, I would like sit in my office Monday to Thursday. And then on a Friday, I had a Friday night school. On a Friday, I would always be in a mad panic. I'd never finish printing the lyrics, or, I don't know, responding to a certain parent or whatever it was. And I just found myself like getting really angry and crying and really upset every Friday.
Oh,
And
bless
my
you.
husband was like, what is going on? And I look back and I go, I just hit perimenopause. I basically needed HRT and nobody had
Right.
told me. And everything was overwhelming. It's like I just couldn't cope with anything. And I had, as I said, I started teaching Pilates. So I also had two reformers in my house. So, or I said, sit in my office. I wouldn't be in my office all day because I also would be teaching Pilates through part of the day and some of the evenings. So I had that business growing. I inherited the Pilates business from my teacher who left for South America and left me clients. So that
Okay.
business just started without me intending for it to start. And so the last 2 years I was running them side by side. And the daughter of the owner of Stagecoach, Coulsdon, had come back. So I'd started teaching with her at Stagecoach Coulsdon, and then she'd been away and she'd come back to the area and she'd started working for me again. And she was talking about retraining and becoming a teacher and all this kind of stuff. And I sort of said to her, would you ever own a Stagecoach? And she said, well, yeah, I think I might. And I just thought, well, that because I felt a responsibility of who to leave the school to. And
Yeah.
I thought, well, actually, this is probably a prime moment to say, does she want to buy the school back? Because it's going back to the kind of original owners, as it were. And she knew the school inside and out. And I thought this opportunity is not going to come round again. And we sort of had the discussions about how are we going to cope without the income, how are we going to, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And yeah, and luckily I got out in 2019. And then we spent the whole of 2020 saying, thank God we'd got out.
Really. I
Because,
remember seeing
it's
you. I
such a
think it
hard
was at,
time for everyone.
yeah, I remember seeing you at a party and you just saying, I really need to get out of this. I've had enough. I'm
Mm,
really unhappy. And, like you say, nothing is worth that, is it? But when you're
mm,
in that, particularly as a franchise, because it's hard enough selling a business when it's not franchise, but it's a damn sight harder selling it as a franchise. It definitely is. But then on the flip side of that, you have got other franchisees that may want to buy your territory, and it's you've got the franchise name behind you, and Stagecoach is obviously a big name.
mm.
But was it quite an easy transition to sell it, and was that all fairly straightforward? How long did
It
that
was,
take?
yeah, very straightforward. I mean, it was back in the day where, we didn't have principals with multiple territories. And I mean, back in my day,
Okay.
you weren't allowed a weekend off, which was part of the killer. And
Yeah.
I ended up with two territories, um, which was quite unheard of. And then they asked me to take a third. And I was like, well, yeah, I could do that. But I just would be a manager. I'd just put managers in all of them and I'd float between the three. Oh, no, you can't do that. Whereas now this
No,
is the
you
model that
can.
they've gone with. But no, I mean, as I say, I was very lucky. Amanda was on the ground. She was ready to go. She knew the school inside and out. And in those days, you literally wrote a letter, which I think I copied the one her mum gave for me, saying, I want to buy it. This is how much it is.
Yeah.
And you told Stagecoach, I'm selling it to this person. They used to just have to go into an interview with Stagecoach to make sure they were approved. And between you paid Stagecoach, I think something like 10 grand or something for training. But yeah, just she shadowed for a term, and then we did a big show to end my.
Oh, lovely.
I wasn't quite 10 years, but I think we kind of blagged it a little bit. And then yeah, and then I think I did the holiday workshop and she picked it up in the September, and it was, yeah, very, very straightforward and easy.
And so then you built because I was similar when I kind of stopped dancing and performing. I had my franchise that I was building, but I'd also retrained to be a personal trainer and a fitness instructor. And during that time, I was teaching all my classes and I had my personal training business, but I was also trying to set up the franchise as well. And it was incredibly stressful because at the time, I was just like, I just want to run my school, but I was still having to keep my clients and all of my fitness up so that I could, because there was no income coming in from my
Yeah,
theatre school at the time. So how did you find that? Like you said, one minute you've got a really good strong income that you know that you're going to get X, Y,
yeah,
Z a month, and then you're like, oh, no, I haven't.
yeah. Yeah, it was. I don't. I don't even remember now. I do remember us having this conversation of, this could be hard because we're going to drop a lot of income. But I had been teaching from home, and I obviously had a number of clients, and we were just walking along our high street one day, and we saw an empty shop, and I was like, oh, do you know what? I'd really like to get the reformers out of the house. This would make a great, great space. And I calculated that the number of clients I had would pay the rent. So all I had to do was double the number of clients that I had, and
Just
I'd
like
have the
that.
income, just like that. So that's sort of what I did. I think I took the space in about the March. And as I say, I sold the Stagecoach in the summer. So I
Okay.
kind of had a term to get my numbers to a point where there was an income of some description. And yeah, and just sort of took the leap. And I don't know, I've never Although I'm good at maths and everything, I don't worry too much. I try not to watch the pennies. I kind of just go, well, as long as there's that money's in there and that's covering that, then we'll, when it's not there, then we'll start to panic.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, and it's I mean, I've had the Pilates business now for 7 years, so has grown, but it has its own challenges. Reformer Pilates is blowing up at the moment. When I opened, I was the only one within a probably 20-mile radius, and now I've got, I think, probably about 12 studios opened within 5 miles in the last 6 months. I mean,
I
it's
mean,
just
it's the
crazy.
same for me with my theatre school. There was me, and there was a stagecoach that had opened the same weekend as me in the same venue on a Thursday, and I was opening on the Saturday, and it wasn't run particularly well. And so I just thought, that's fine, that'll be closed soon, which it did.
Yeah,
And then it got taken over, and the principal's quite good now. I hear really good things about the stagecoach in our area, but there's also an umpteen dancing schools, umpteen Amdram groups, umpteen. We've also got another theatre school not far away from us that does like free workshops and things, and it's like, great,
yeah,
everybody's trying to earn a living and just get through things, and then there's a charity up the road, so there's things like that that weren't a problem, back in 10 years ago, or 18 years ago, because it was just really me that was a good school. But there's lots of others now, and that's, people can choose, we get a lot of studio hoppers.
that's it. And that's it. I mean, I always used to get really worked up with Stagecoach. As soon as another stage school opened up, I used to panic and have heart attack and everything. And
Yeah,
I've kind of I started feeling that way when they started popping up locally. I was a bit like, oh my God, oh my God. And then you just kind of calm down about it, and all you can do is look at your own business.
yeah,
I get on really well with most of the other owners in the
yeah,
area.
same here.
Actually find that if we cross promote things or we do stuff together, and there's just you just got to keep adapting and keep changing, and I've moved the studio in one direction, and then we've kind of gone, oh no, okay, let's go back the other way. You keep just changing things to suit the market, and hopefully as long as you're providing a good service, you'll stay around. And
Yeah,
if
and
not, then it'll be an what career number, whatever.
yeah, and it's also just, there's times where you think it's moved so much that I know it can still work. I know it can still work. I've still got it in my heart that it will work. And you kind of have to have that self-belief, don't you? That, do you know what? Yep, there's another theatre school. Yep, there's another Pilates. But do you know what? I know what I do is good and it will work. You have to have that self-belief, don't you?
Yeah, I think the problem comes then though with, like you were saying earlier, about with delegation.
Yeah,
So because it's all very well you being good at something, but are the people that then representing you, it's trying to keep that standard as
very
hard.
hard.
And I watched a training from somebody in America, and they said, look, you cannot expect people to do things 100% as well as you do or the same as you would. He said, but, you've got to settle for 80%. And that was kind of a big thing. I thought, oh, okay. So they don't have to be 100% good. They just have to be 80% as good at certain things or the same. And so that was a big change in the last couple of years. I've kind of let go a little bit because I think I held so tightly to those strings, which was what gave me burnout with Stagecoach. I couldn't let anything go. Whereas now I'm starting to kind of go, okay, well, that's okay. It's not my cup of tea, but it's okay. Other people like it. Let's let it
Yeah,
go.
yeah. It's so true. I am such a strong believer in that now. I wasn't at all. I was a bit like you, and I was running everything for stepping out. I was doing the costumes, I was doing all the technical stuff, I was doing the admin, I was doing the bookkeeping, the accounts, everything, and directing the shows, and just and then you suddenly wake up one day, and I just before COVID, I was like, do you know what? I don't do this anymore. I'm going to sell it. And I think COVID really changed me in terms of, if I continue to do this, I'm going to have to do it in a different way because this is not sustainable with
Mm,
this amount of kids. It's just not.
absolutely.
How do you find having your own premises? Because that's has its
Great.
challenges. Yeah.
Oh no, I mean I've been really lucky. So I've been in the same place for 7 years. I mean, obviously there's the roof needs fixing again, so you get a bill, you get unexpected bills for all sorts of things, which is a bit of a pain. But on the whole, it's been okay. Would I like more space? Yes. Would I like a second space? Like with it, so I quite like to have two rooms in the same venue rather than like I've got one space. But it is what it is. I looked at expanding maybe 2, 3 years ago, and then once all the others started cropping up, I thought, no, this is not the time. You don't want to expand now because they're just popping up left, right, and centre. But yeah, who knows where it will go in the future. I'm just kind of riding it at the moment, riding the wave, and just see where it leads me,
Have you
and
got a
have my head
team in place now? So you're saying about delegation. Have you got people that help
kind
you?
of. Not really that help me. So I still run, I've still got control of the whole business, but I've got a lot of other instructors.
Brilliant.
So we started with me and one other instructor. So I took her on as soon as I got the space because I knew that I needed more hours and I didn't want to teach, hundreds of more hours, and I needed that to make the profit there. So she joined me 7 years ago, and then quite soon after, I think maybe in the first couple of years, well, because after COVID and everything, because COVID we were shut down. After COVID and everything, when it started to pick back up, we took on another girl. And then now I have, I think there's about 6 or 7 of
Wow.
people of us working in there. So it's a lot less, but I still feel like I'm still in there quite a lot. So a
Yeah.
lot of studio owners don't teach. I still teach. Up until recently, I've been teaching sort of around 20 hours a week. And then I'm probably just about to drop down to about 15. But it doesn't sound a lot, but it is still quite a lot. I think that's a Tuesday all morning. Wednesday, I was doing morning and evening, Thursday evening, and then Saturday, which leaves you that other time to do all the admin and the running and all of that sort of thing of it. So it was still a big commitment from me. I'm still not at the point where I can just go, oh, look after everything for me.
Mm.
So, I mean, I can to a degree. I go away and I can give people the phone and I can, but I'll still be checking the emails. I just am incapable of actually. Turning it off and switching it off.
I think that's a real entrepreneur thing, isn't it? And when it's your own business, it's your baby, isn't it?
Mm.
You want to make sure that people are being spoken to nicely and that they're being responded to and all of those things. But equally, you don't want to get to a point where this is not a coaching session, but you don't want to get to a point where you burn out again, Zoe.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's
So what
that's
kind
it.
of things do you do for yourself as a business owner? Because I do 2 yogas a week and I've just started an art class, which I love. So that was my New Year's
Nice.
resolution to do something for myself. So do you do anything for yourself?
Yeah, so I started doing aerial year before last or
Ah,
last year, I
okay.
think. So a friend said, "Oh, come to a hoop class," and I was like, I don't know if I, but went to hoop, quite enjoyed it, and then so I did hoop for a bit, and then my back went again, so I had some time off. So then late last year, I went back to hoop, and I started pole. So I'm quite new at that. And then I did my first silks lesson this week. So I quite like that. I like go swimming. Um, and I've got 2 dogs, so they take up a lot of time to take them
Good.
out every day, walking the dogs and stuff. But yes, and it's been quite good for me to kind of go. So my friend that went to hoop with me then trained to be an instructor. And they're like, "Oh, you're going to do your training?" I'm like, "No." It's like every time I start a hobby, I end up turning it into
Doing
a
into a
business.
business.
And I'm not going to do it anymore because I need to have things that as soon as you turn it into a business, it changes your relationship with
Yes, it
whatever it
does.
is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I said I can't do that to any more hobbies because I'm going to just run out of things to
Rob
try
says
and
that
do,
to me all the time because when I started the art class in January, I said, "Oh, I need to do something for myself." He was like, "You need to do something for yourself. You don't have a hobby." And I said, "I do have a hobby. My hobby's performing and is like going to see musicals and things." He's like, "No, that's not your hobby. That's your job." And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not sure about that, but yeah, he's right. And actually, the art class has been amazing for me because for 2 hours a week, I just sit and I do not think about anything else. And it's
Mm.
so good for my mind and my headspace. I can just switch off. I'm not a mum, I'm not a wife, I'm not a business owner. I'm just Shelley drawing a tulip.
Yeah.
or Shelley drawing a shell. It's just
Yeah.
lovely. And I think that's really important as a business owner to have that time away
Yeah.
from things that I never ever did. And again, I think in mentoring others and seeing it, with the business coaching and stuff that I do now, and seeing people reach burnout and things, and having these great businesses that they've built up, but they are they're like where I was in COVID. They're here and they have got nothing left to give,
Mm.
like a bit like you said, that's
Yeah.
happened to you before. And it's
Yeah. That
very
was
easy to
absolutely it.
happen.
Absolutely. But I think it's funny now because it's kind of come full circle because as well, I think my performing is really my hobby. I mean, well, my hobby is still trying to get into that's the thing. I mean, every 2 minutes I go, I'm not going to bother anymore. When my spotlight comes up, I'm not going to renew it. I'm not going to do it. And then every time it comes up, I go, well, I'll just do one more year. And then last week I went, I'll just do another set of headshots. Why not? I'm just see what happens. If I've got them, and I may as well send them out to agents. So it's sort of that's bubbling. It still bubbles away under the surface. It's still there, but I think it's kind of like I did some QVC last year for the first. So I did QVC for about 10 years, and then I hadn't been on air for over 10 years, and somebody invited me back to do some airings, and I was absolutely terrified. I was just thought, oh, and I didn't think I'd be nervous at all. Having done it for so long, I thought, oh, this is going to be easy. I'm just, I could walk on tomorrow and sell anything because I've did it for so long. But actually, it was just being I thought the environment would be familiar, but of course the environment's changed in the last 10
Yeah, of
years. So
course.
you walk in and you go, oh, this is new, this is new, this didn't happen before. Oh, you've got to do that. And so all of that raises the anxiety. And then you've just got that whole thing of I'm now old and I haven't done it for 10 years and will I know what I'm going to say and all of that sort of thing. But actually that was really good for me as well, because again, it was just a completely different part of my personality and my being and my it was nothing to do with me, the studio owner and the Pilates instructor. So it just helps give you balance, just helps
Yeah.
to do all these different things.
What's left in ahead? What do you see yourself doing in 5 years' time? Oh,
No idea.
circus
Well,
training.
whenever I picture it, I think winning the lottery and sitting on a beach and drinking a
Mm,
margarita is kind of what
lovely.
I'd like to be, but I don't know. I imagine, I feel like at this stage of life, and I could be wrong, but I feel like things don't change that much. I feel like it hasn't changed that much in the last 5 years. And I think the next 5 years will probably be pretty similar to they have been,
Yeah.
unless something dramatic happens or it just happens as it's always done and it just naturally segues into something else. But I've never been a great one for planning or knowing
Okay.
what's going to happen. It's just sort of happens to me.
Organically,
And
organically,
I
yeah.
just end up in that place. So yeah, who knows whether it'll be somewhere I've been before coming back or whether it'll be something totally new. I don't know. But I don't think any of us are retiring. Well, speaking for myself, that was the bad thing about coming from the performing background is nobody really talked about pensions. So
No.
you now hit this age and I kind of go, oh,
Oh,
oh, right. So I can't actually retire and my state pension doesn't kick in till 67. Um, so
yeah.
what are we going to do? And I think with the world as it is terrifying. So anybody that does have pensions still isn't sort of safe. Because as we all know, prices in shops and everything are just
Yeah.
going up
Rockets.
10 to the dozen and everything at the moment. So yeah, and that was a whole other little bit of career. I dabbled with a bit of politics as well. So you never know. There's a whole other things
There's so
that
many
go on.
heads,
But
Zoe. There's so
yeah,
many little
exactly.
heads you've got. It's fantastic. Well, listen, we've come to an end. It's been such a pleasure having you on. And I think what's really lovely is, for graduates that are perhaps listening, is you may leave performing arts college and think, well, I just want to be in the West End. That's all I want to do. Just want to be in a musical, which is what I was like. And actually, there are so many other things you can do. And, the career that you maybe leave with isn't necessarily going to be the career that you do in 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, because everything, like you say, organically things change. You meet other people, you try different things. But, who would have said that you would be running your own Pilates studio? If the younger Zoe of 20 who was at Lane's, you'd have been like, nah, that won't happen. And the
Well,
same
I
with
think yeah.
me.
Yeah, I think I
Or
probably
would
pictured it
you?
as a dance. I think I probably did picture running a dancing school. So I wasn't far off, just tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, bless you. Well, listen, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. This episode will go live in a few weeks' time because I think we're around kind of episode 10 or 11 now. And so as soon as it goes live, I shall let you know. But thank you so much for your
Fabulous.
time, and
No
I'll see you
worries.
very soon, I hope.
Thank you. See you soon. Take
Mwah.
care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Treading the Boards to Business. We hope we added some sparkle to your day. Please like, subscribe and share our channel. And if you know of any lovies who may want to share their story, do get in touch. We hope the rest of your day is filled with glamour and glitter.